map shows how close the missiles could come to the U.S. territory. Let's get into the nature of this threat and how the U.S. would respond. I'm joined now by Bruce Klingner of the Heritage Foundation. He served as the CIA's Deputy Division Chief for Korea. Bruce, great to speak to you, and I just want your reaction to these comments coming out of Moscow. You've actually spoken to the North Koreans recently. What do you think they would make of a so-called double freeze?
Well, a double freeze really is a non-starter. In January 2015, North Korea raised the idea. China and Russia have picked up on it. In all cases, the U.S. and South Korea have said it's a non-starter. It's North Korea offering something it legally doesn't possess, so, not launching nuclear or not conducting nuclear tests and not launching missiles. They're already required not to do that under numerous UN Security Council resolutions, whereas the U.S. and South Korea are allowed to do our military exercises. One thing I've offered to the North Koreans is more of a logical starting point would be every year North Korea does a winter training cycle, a very large conventional force exercise, and also a summer training cycle. If they were to offer to constraints on their own conventional military exercises in return for allied military exercises, whether the U.S. and Seoul would accept that, at least that's a more logical starting point. But no one seems to talk about the North Korean military exercises, which can be quite large.
And in terms of your perspective and your conversations with the North Koreans, just while we're on this and during this week, I mean, you took out of it, based on what you reported, was that under no circumstances would they be convinced to give up nuclear weapons.
Right. And what I would add is under present circumstances. So the idea behind greater pressure, targeted financial measures, no longer pulling our punches on enforcing U.S. law against Chinese and North Korean violators of U.S. law, is to try to change the calculus in North Korea in a way similar to the Iranian nuclear deal, to get them back to the table in a more reasonable way. Whether North Korea would do that or not certainly is an open question.
And just talk about the president and how he is gaming this all out. He tweeted that the military is locked and loaded. Is the U.S. military ready for some kind of conflagration here?
Well, I think we have to distinguish between a reactive attack. If North Korea attacks, the U.S. would respond. That's always on the table and something we're required to do under the Mutual Defense Treaty with South Korea. And that's what Secretary of Defense Mattis seems to be talking about. Or is the president talking about a preemptive strike, which is if we feel North Korea is about to attack, we would preempt that attack, or a preventative attack, as H.R. McMaster, the National Security Advisor, and the President seems to be talking about, is even if we don't feel an attack is imminent, we attack first in order to prevent them from completing a development of an ICBM. Any one of those, the preventive or preemptive, could lead to a large conflagration on the peninsula, perhaps even an all-out war.
And none of them are good options, and that's not breaking news. I mean, this has been no good option scenario for decades now.
Exactly. And the thing is, with the escalating North Korean and now U.S. threats, we're uncertain what each side means. They're leaning further forward. And the more that both sides talk about a preventive or preemptive strike, it may lead the other to feel they have to lean either further forward. So there's a greater risk of miscalculation now than before, and someone could stumble across a red line even unknowingly.
In all of your time analyzing and working with this issue, has the situation changed, or is this just a heightened sense of more of the same? I mean, is what we're seeing, particularly what Donald Trump is tweeting, is it different from before? And do you have greater concerns?
Well, when you work North Korea, and I've been doing it for 24 years, we're always on a roller coaster of tension, and things go up and come down slightly only to go back up. So we're always on the knife edge of a crisis. But perhaps what's different now is with the escalating threats, it's starting to sound like two guys in a bar saying, "Hold my beer." We don't know what's going to happen, and they can both do a lot of damage to each other as well as to the other people in the bar.
And drink a lot of beer, perhaps. Thanks so much, Bruce Klingner. Great to have your perspective. Always great talking to you. Thanks so much.